You'd say that 10 million subscribers is a lot, right?
Yes.
I mean, I would too. I think there's pretty much only one person on planet Earth that would be like, 10 million subscribers. And I bet you everybody can guess who it is. MrBeast says, inside this box is the world's first 500 million play button. He's sitting there next to Neil Mohan, CEO of YouTube. He says, we're 10 million away from the 500 million, and I cannot wait to see what's in here. So help me out. Subscribe so we can all see what it looks like. He's like, 10 million? We'll get that in a week. So that was 8 days ago. I believe they've gotten 5 of those 10 million in the last week. And so by the end of the week here, I bet you we will see the first 500 million play button.
Wow. And do you know how far behind the second channel is? Because there was a race in the early days of the most subscribed, and it was an Indian channel from India, obviously. And it was like some media company, I think.
Yeah, initially, do you remember that race?
T-Series, right?
Yeah, T-Series. That's
T-Series. Right. So I'm assuming that no one's even close. He just kept driving. And
T-Series, anybody want to take a guess where they're at right now? They are still number 2.
I think they're like 385.
Neutrally?
I was going to say 420.
312. 312. Just a random number, I assume, actually. Actually, do you know what number 3 is on the list of most subscribed channels?
Number 3 is?
Yeah, I bet you could probably get it, honestly.
Oh. Okay, give me some clues. Is it a kids channel?
It is a kids channel. I don't even need to give you a clue.
All right. Is it a cartoon or real?
Actually, I don't know. Let me look. I don't know because I don't know anything about kids channels. And I'm looking here. I'm going to try and do some research.
You know what's kind of crazy about this?
Cartoon.
It is a cartoon? Okay. What's that fake little baby thing? What is it, Neutrally? I know you watch it all the time.
Coco Melon?
Coco Melon.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
So
we have winners at 201 million. But 500 million, that's 500 million people subscribed to MrBeast. Just a kind of crazy thing to think about.
500 million. And I know we should be celebrating this, but my question is, when will he get to 1 billion?
Yeah.
Because 1 billion crosses another threshold. Because 1 billion, 500 million is already more than the population of the United States. Okay. But 1 billion, you're talking whole continents. Like
it's insane.
All of China, right? Or all of India.
Yeah, more than the biggest continents, even, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So I remember in 2009 and you should do the research here, confirm that this is correct. The first channel hitting 1 million subscribers. Do you remember what that channel was?
Oh, was it Fred?
Oh, it might be, but Ryan Higa.
Oh, yeah.
He was
very
at least
early.
the top 3, right? And that was so mind-blowing that happened. And we wouldn't have thought about 5 million or 10 million or let alone 500 million. 1 million just seemed like the peak.
Yeah. Okay? There's no way you're going to get more than 1 million.
Yeah, just 1 million was enough. Okay. so and that was over 15 years ago. And now we're just hitting, numbers so fast. I'm actually curious now.
And so 500 million for MrBeast. My takeaway from seeing this is just the scale of his business. We're going to talk about some old internet ideas here on this episode. So I'm excited to talk about this one here. I think maybe we've talked about this before. You know about the idea of 1,000 true fans?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you know.
I forget the person that coined this, but a lot of people write about it. In fact, a friend of mine, Pat Flynn, he wrote a book called Superfans, kind of same concept. But the reason people talk about 1,000 true fans is because if you have 1,000 fans and they spend $100 in your business, well, that's a 6-figure business, right? 100 times 1,000, that's 100,000. Not probably as lucrative a living now, but still, when that was coined, making 6 figures is a lot of money. And so that's where it comes from. 1,000 fans paying you $100 for a product, a service, or maybe even just giving through memberships on YouTube or Patreon. And that's where the concept comes from and why people talk about 1,000 True Fans and its significance.
Yeah, and the person who coined this, some real-time follow-up, was Kevin Kelly at Wired, and that's exactly right. I think 100,000, I mean, that's well above the median income in the United States, right? So you get 1,000 people to pay you $100 a year, which another way to think about it is $10 a month, right? You're making well above the median income in the U.S. You're making a good living, honestly, at that point. 500 million people. I mean, it's not 500 million true fans the way that Kevin Kelly is talking about it. People who would pay, $10 a month in order to be subscribed to MrBeast. But I bet you within there's more than 1,000 people who'd be willing to pay MrBeast $10 a month.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, which is just like crazy to even think about.
And they do, because they buy his chocolate. They now buy his beef jerky, probably buy some of his merch whenever he drops whatever. I mean, like when Beast Burger came out, it was like crazy how popular it was. So,
well, I want to talk a little bit more about MrBeast, but I want to get to some follow-up. MrBeast mostly did that by creating kind of a style, I would say, on his channel. This sort of set of gimmicks that was purely about kind of almost optimizing on the platform in order to find success on the YouTube algorithm. In fact, I'd say that MrBeast's main channel has mostly become a show, honestly, at this point. Like, it's very much, you can kind of know what you're going to expect. You have some, if you're a fan of his, some guaranteed satisfaction, as you say, on that for him. And so to the extent that he, in this case, that he literally has a show on Prime where he takes some of that same style and turns it into an actual TV show, game show for Amazon Prime Video. And of course, that follows that format. And, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about that idea, show theory, as kind of the new approach that a lot of the most successful creators can't stop talking about on YouTube. MrBeast is not the only one. And we had talked about some of the elements that makes a show a show. And Benji, one of the things that you had mentioned was the idea of consistency.
One thing that you basically wanted to bring up to creators and talk about, right? That a show is a way to wrap your head around what you should be creating as a creator, right?
Yes.
It's the type of content. Well, you didn't mention it this whole thing, but what do I always say about a show? Guaranteed satisfaction. So set aside daytime or nighttime streaming or TV. It just have to be guaranteed satisfaction. That's what's going to make people come back every single day. That's the practical thing you should be thinking about. This is why consistency is important, not just in the day, but and the time, but also just like you're going to deliver.
Yes.
Because they want that. And if they don't get guaranteed satisfaction from you,
The same characters, the same format, the same storylines.
where do we get this from? Us just observing what worked in the 90s and the 2000s. Obviously, there's been shows since, and all those shows guarantee satisfaction. Every single episode that comes out, you're going to generally have a certain level of excitement, happiness, sadness, emotions, whatever it is that you like about that show, you're going to get that. That's why, like, old school YouTubers who kind of just do whatever they want in this era might not have the best opportunities.
Yes.
This is why I made a comment about all those people that Neil Mohan was on stage with. Those guys are professionals.
Yes.
They are pros. They show up to work. They're consistent. They deliver no matter what. They probably have a whole line of episodes. I'm talking about more of the YouTube shows and creators versus like the Trevor Noahs, right? Like those guys are working on a world that I think that most creators can't even fathom.
Yeah.
They plan it years ahead. They film the whole season out. It's ready to go. Because what are they trying to do? Hit that consistency.
So that idea of consistency is super important that you're talking about. And actually, we posted that whole segment that beyond that just like, little 2-minute piece there. And at Fix It On The Way, one of our regular viewers, had this to say about it. They say, at that point, network TV actually isn't consistent at all. Most TV shows would traditionally run a couple of dozen episodes per year and then go on hiatus. Sometimes the hiatus would last for years. Consistency is relative term on network TV shows. Benji, what's your reaction to that?
I mean, it's true. I mean, that was what was unique about YouTube specifically in terms of content, that people were uploading consistently throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
At an extreme, daily. Like my wife.
Yeah, literally.
that just was never a thing except for late night. But even late night has a break on the weekend. So when my wife in 2011, and she wasn't the only one to do it, she was just one of the top people to be daily vlogging, to do it every single day. I think we went about 5 years with that, maybe 6 years. That was definitely novel, but people just had their show always guaranteed to show up. And that was special in itself. You didn't even have to be overly produced. You didn't have to do anything crazy or extreme. Just showing up every single day. So yes, I mean, like I agree. And that's kind of the limitation. But you know what shows up after your show ends? Another show, right? Like the network always runs something. Something's going to take its place. You know, there's another thing, another channel or whatever. And so, I mean, remember, it's a different world too. I'm thinking about creators. What can you do? And that's why, I mean, you brought up in my book, YouTube Secrets, we suggest start with 1 upload a week. And I never thought about the logic, how that, you know, relates to TV shows. And because we also schedule our lives by the week, you know, What are we going to do this week or next week or last week? What did we do? Thinking of it like that leads to that consistency. Or if you get real crazy, daily. And then it's just like, it's just the best. And I think right now too, the real crazy extreme is multiple uploads a day.
Yeah.
And so the creators that succeed at the highest level, it's not always like the most produced or the best in terms of, you know, this crazy idea. It can be very vlog style, is doing 5 to 7 shorts, reels, or TikToks a day.
Yeah, I guess my take actually is sort of similar. I don't disagree with any of that, but I actually was awakened kind of by Fix It on the Way's comment here by thinking, yeah, you know what? Actually, if you're a creator and you're making, let's go ahead and say 24 episodes over the course of a year. So that's what, 1 every 2 weeks or so, right? Plus a couple of breaks maybe. That might be enough, honestly, or even something more limited, like 12 episodes a year, where you're basically posting 1 a month. We know people who are doing that, right? And more as these brands are coming over from the traditional TV world and start thinking of YouTube as traditional TV, the budgets come along too that let you have that gap in between. I mean, I think that one of the reasons why you had that level of consistency, and by that I actually mean just volume, that level of volume in those days of like daily vlogging, is because that was the monetization model that worked, right? Like, first of all, you were on top of people's minds all the time, right? Second of all, you were on top of brands' minds all the time. Third of all, AdSense was running on your YouTube videos and you were getting paid for all those views that you were getting. And so because that was the model that was supported by the existing monetization options at the time, that's what led to that. Now, I don't disagree with you. If you could create the most highly produced thing every single day, why wouldn't you? You definitely would do that, which is why late night does that type of thing. It's more highly produced, but it's also daily. So it's kind of a middle ground between those things. More and more now, though, I think you can go the other direction and have consistency in that you're going to exist for the year, but you're doing it on a pace that matches like more like traditional TV shows, once a week, once every other week, or like do it for a season where you do it for like 1 period of time throughout the year and then you wait and then you go again. I think that that's going to show up more and more.
Yeah, I think the limitation to consistency is quality.
Yes.
So, you know, I just watched a documentary about The Walking Dead. I've never watched any episode of The Walking Dead, if you can believe that. I know it's like this crazy big show. I've never seen one episode. I've seen all the memes. I've seen like, you know, like trailers or whatever. But I was fascinated by this documentary talking about why it sucked at the end, right? And why it kind of got better and all the spinoffs. But it was saying like the first 3 seasons were the best because they were really true to storytelling. And they didn't fluff things up. Well, what happens? It's almost impossible to keep a good story going. So they're starting to fluff it up to extend the life of this show. And in the documentary, they said AMC was just trying to like, hey, we're going to ride this out because it's a cash cow.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can like force a good story. I mean, some people may be able to take it on, but most shows do this. They kind of like almost cannibalize themselves. They've done all the good stuff, like exhausted all the ideas, and it's kind of like inevitable that would happen, that it would just go downhill. Well, same thing with creators. I think like even us, if I'm critiquing my wife and I, okay, I would never like critique her as a creator, as an editor. I think it's amazing. We still love doing it, but naturally our views have gone down.
Sure.
In the last 3 to 5 years. Part of it is we've literally done everything. We still live in the same house. There's 7 of us now, right? And now we haven't added her dad is living with us right now. But outside of that, there's not a lot that's changed. Even my business is generally the same, okay? So we've already done everything. I vlogged and then literally in that moment thought, I've actually done this 2 or 3 times, like this day. And
It's happened before.
We've seen it like 3 years back. We did the exact same thing on the exact same day.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Like a good example is like I always plant my garden like right before or after Mother's Day because that's when you would do it. But then to have a vlog of it. So think about a viewer. Unless you're there just because you like us and our personalities and our connection. Well, if you're there for the content itself because there's something interesting about it, but I've already done it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, been there, done that. I want something new.
Yeah.
And that might be another channel. So I bring this up because, yeah, consistency when it's like at that level, it gets harder and harder as you go on unless you bring in fresh new ideas, new formats, new things. And that's like reinventing yourself. My wife was really good at this at the beginning. Going to different channels, right? Completely different value propositions.
Yeah.
And we've kind of settled on doing our daily vlog, which is still healthy. It's still going. But if I'm being very objective, some of our days can be the exact same. And so now we've gone down to 3 days a week. But you know what's funny? Our most successful month last year, guess when it was?
Daily during Vlogtober.
Vlogtober. We did it every single day. And the views are growing. So that kind of contradicts what I'm saying. But I think also 2 things happened during that era. When I say era, that month. One, we were triggering the algorithm more. So the algorithm was probably suggesting us more because we're just like humming, getting more views or whatever. Also, it was probably novel to our fans.
Totally.
That like remember that era where we were doing daily and they're like, this is so cool. And just because of that, they're just kind of watching or leaving it on their computer. So yeah, it's like you have to think about, you want to be consistent for the audience, but also like you want to, as a creator, not force it.
Yeah, you know, we do talk a lot about consistency. I think another thing that we talk about is volume, like we just talked about. And I will say this, Johnny Harris agrees. I promise we'll get back to that in just a second. Now, before we begin, I do want to give a little bit of context because funny enough, we also briefly talked about the Johnny Harris thing a couple of weeks ago. In fact, we were talking about show theory and this is what we said. We had just discovered how important TV was to YouTube. And so what is the other angle into this crazy world of TV and creators? And I think it begins with this picture here. Benji, when you take a look at this, I know it's a little bit small on our screen. Do you recognize anybody who's standing there? In
The
this?
first one is Johnny Harris.
Johnny Harris.
Right? Is he in there?
I think so.
Like
Actually,
the-
I'm not even sure. I
The
only recognize a
images.
few.
Let me just look.
Yeah, he's going to go in and take a
I think
close.
it's Johnny Harris, okay? And so the reason Johnny Harris stands out is because I'm a fan of his content, and he loves maps. He likes geopolitics and
Oh,
history.
yeah. I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, he was from what was that channel? I think he was from another platform. He's one of these creators that left these bigger, companies.
Yes.
Started his
Went
own
solo.
channel and did similar content. So why he stands out for the context of this discussion, he has legit documentaries about geopolitics, about countries, and more specifically about like maps. He loves maps, and he talks about why maps are this way, or he just covers all kinds of topics. But these are sometimes like 30 and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
They're highly produced. I watch them on my Google Home Hub display and sometimes my phone or sometimes my TV. And I'm just sitting there washing dishes and he's just talking to me. And it's just crazy. Like somebody so nerdy about this stuff that I like creates this show that's free, 100% free. Does make money on ads and all that, but it's a show. He's creating a show and I love his show.
Now, the context here is that Neil Mohan had taken that picture with a bunch of creators that were creating shows that were showing up at Brandcast during YouTube's Upfronts week in New York City. There was Trevor Noah. We talked about Kareem Rama. And of course, like you mentioned in that video, Johnny Harris. Now, you outlined the basics of his story there, but I want to add a little bit of context because it's important here. By the way, follow up to that video that we just watched. Johnny came over from Vox. That was the name that you were trying to look for.
I just looked it up too.
Yeah.
and the name of his show, the name of his show was Borders.
Borders, exactly. And so after his show was canceled, actually, during COVID, I think, he basically took those fundamentals from that show and brought them to his own channel, which was there. So he has this huge channel now. It's 7.7 million subs, millions of views per video. And he's kind of begun to build up this media empire starting from there and kind of working its way outwards. In fact, just recently, he started this new thing here that he calls New Press, which basically is like a newsroom, like a good old-fashioned newsroom, but run by creators. So think about Vox, which was kind of like a newsroom run by bloggers, is the way I think about it. New Press is a newsroom run by creators instead. And so to recap here, New Press launches in March. This photo here that we were just talking about in that video happens in mid-May, so just a couple months after that. And last week, at the end of May, there were the news and documentary Emmys. And Johnny Harris actually ended up winning one for his graphic design work at New Press. Here's Johnny.
That was a video that we just imagined as a team. What would it be like if we lived through the decades? And because of an amazing, creative, scrappy, resourceful team of self-taught artists and creative journalists, we were able to bring that to life and then put it on our own airwaves. Millions of people watched it. We get to publish this journalism to millions of people because of YouTube. And because of that, we can get weird. And we can come up with new ways of showing how the world works. I grew up not really learning information like the rest of the world. I had to visualize it, I had to see it to understand it. And with an amazing team, we worked together to try to make that gift of understanding possible to others. So I'm just so grateful that we could honor that with this trophy and this amazing team that we have here and all over the world that work together. We're trying to reimagine the future of journalism on YouTube, and we're really excited to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
So there you have Johnny. And Benji, I know you saw that clip because I saw that you had liked it, actually. I'm curious about, first of all, what your reactions are to this.
I liked it, but I didn't listen to it. Oh, really? I just like Johnny. I'm like a fan of his.
And also, he said that he won that Emmy, right? Which is the kind of the bottom line there.
That's
so
all I need to know.
Now you've heard that. Now, I'll tell you what stood out to me. He specifically calls out YouTube. This is possible because of YouTube. He doesn't say any other platforms. He doesn't say because of the internet. He doesn't say because of his blog. He says because of YouTube. Now, there's a few things here. I want to hear your reaction to the fact that he won an Emmy. I want to hear your reaction to the fact that he talked about YouTube specifically. I want to hear your reaction to just the general thing that he said there up on stage.
Well, Johnny Harris is an interesting guy because he started with Vox, which would you call that a studio or just like a
publication?
Yeah,
really.
publication,
like a media empire
on YouTube. So in a way, he had like the perfect setup because most creatives, when they become a creator or a YouTuber and start a YouTube channel, they have to be scrappy and do it all themselves.
Yes.
Vox kind of paved the way for him and just made it easier. I say easier because he probably still had to work really hard, but he didn't have to think about all the different things. He could just focus on the content.
Yes.
Be the creative. They probably funded a lot of his travels, like maybe even booked his travels. I don't know. I just know that he probably had an easier time than if he were to do it completely on his own. He gets started, Borders becomes kind of popular. And so I bet you there's a lot of videos out there that I would just assume are Johnny Harris videos that are really Vox videos that I watched before he started his own channel. And so like when he says like it's all because of YouTube, he's 100% right. I actually really weirdly, even though I'm a super fan of his, you have to acknowledge Vox.
Totally.
And he probably doesn't do it there because I don't know how. I didn't know he got a let go or like that. They canceled the show. That
Yeah.
kind of makes sense with COVID. They had to cancel a lot of things, and he went off on his own. To be fair, maybe had a team, maybe by himself, and he got successful.
Yeah.
So he is the most important of the equation. But if you had to start from zero, right? No one knows you. It might be a different thing. So I'm only saying that because everyone has different journeys and different kind of dynamics. In terms of winning an Emmy, though, with a show that's on YouTube, that is showing the world that people don't care if they get their content on a YouTube or HBO or any other streaming platform or even on TV. They just care that it's a good show.
Exactly.
And that's why we talk about creators should think about what is their show, not so you can win an Emmy or compete against those people, just so that you can format it in a way that your audience knows this is something they can look forward to, whether it's once a month, once a week, once a day, 2 times a week. The cadence is up to you. It's just that is kind of this new era we're in. Because it's so noisy. You know what's crazy? What's making the noise? People that don't have shows.
Interesting.
Because if you have a show, it's not noise. Like people seek it out. Even if it gets promoted by the same algorithm that shows all this other random stuff, well, the show will still stand out, especially if they know it's part of a series, you know?
Yeah, it's the sustainable way to do things. It's kind of predictable for you as a creator.
And I can guarantee you the show on YouTube has a way better chance of winning the Emmy than just random content that's on YouTube.
100%.
It'll never probably win.
Yeah.
Because it's not a show that you can kind of judge. What's interesting about his show that he's talking about, and what did he win the Emmy for his channel?
He won the Emmy. This is a weird detail. He won the Emmy for graphic design work that he did on the New Press thing, which is the new news website that he launched just a couple of months ago. So my guess, by the way, is that what has happened here is that he is known for his work on his channel.
Yeah.
He has expanded to these other things and roped other creators in to all be part of this New Press thing. And that they're using this Emmy round of Emmys, which is kind of a more niche set of Emmys, as an excuse to award him for this thing that's kind of just getting off the ground.
Really?
I know.
They're using it? Okay, so
Well-
because I looked, he did win another Emmy for outstanding video journalism, and I'm guessing that was on. Oh, you know what's crazy about that? That wasn't even his YouTube channel. That was something he did on the New York Times.
Exactly.
And I remember watching that video. So is he winning because of his YouTube channel? Well, I think no in these cases, but his YouTube channel gives him the profile and the skills to be able to create the content that's winning the Emmys.
Exactly. And so actually what I would like to do here now is show you us talking about this all the way back in January, because we actually did discuss this after Neil Mohan posted his annual letter all the way back a few months ago. Speaking of TV, the second bullet point under that, the second subheading was every format on every screen. He says, whether they're watching on a small screen in their hand or the largest screen in their home, viewers choose YouTube for an unmatched breadth of content. Long form, shorts, music videos, live streams, podcasts, and more. From niche interests to global trends, viewers are finding what they love on Shorts, which now averages 200 billion daily views. This year will bring even more variety to Shorts by integrating different formats like image posts directly into the feed, making it easier to stay connected with your favorite creators. We're also investing in music, whether it's helping you find your next go-to artist, uncovering the stories behind the songs that move you, or making it easier to discover the experience and experience new releases. YouTube has been #1 in streaming watch time in the US for nearly 3 years, according to Nielsen. YouTube is the new TV because creators are the new primetime. Ms. Rachel's 2 Children and Family Emmy nominations prove that creators are defining this next era of entertainment. It's a powerful start, but we need to see more recognition like this.
Yeah, in terms of like awards and highlighting them on mainstream.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? They still are competing though with old guard. I mean, like on the Oscars
Yes.
or even the Grammys. do you ever see digital creators on there? No, because that's still the old guard that determine like who gets awards or whatever. And to be fair, maybe it just doesn't compete with Hollywood or those bigger studios. So when he says, "Oh, we will like them to be highlighted," it's funny because for the YouTube community, for like social media creators, is like the streamies. That's
Yeah.
like our
Yeah.
Grammys or whatever.
Or the Webbies, yeah.
Judy's been invited to that a couple times, but still, it's like puny, right? Only our community cares about it, but like the rest of the world probably didn't even know it existed. Yet YouTube and the creators on the platform represent like a lot of attention
Yeah.
of people's day,
Yeah.
And so it is interesting that YouTube doesn't get its flowers and the creators don't get that recognition.
Yeah. So basically, at the beginning of the year, Neil Mohan had set out to say, we want more recognition from, as you say in that clip, the old guard, in order because we're the new TV. So you got to recognize us as the new TV. And
By the way, can I say something?
yeah, please.
What when you finish your thought?
Oh, just that it's coming to fruition again. Neil is very good at making the things that he says are going to come true in the following year. And to me, it's interesting here that it has to do with finding their way into the old guard. And I'll tell you why that's important in a second, but I want to hear what you have to
Yeah,
say.
no, I think that Johnny Harris, when he's acknowledging YouTube, legitimately, he probably believes that and feels that. But man, who was he just hanging out with not too long ago in New York City, getting put on stage at Brandcast? Neil Mohan.
Yes.
And when you're part of that crew, it's like, hey, I'm gonna show some love. Or vice versa. What if Neil Mohan's like, hey, don't forget to mention YouTube here, okay? Let's try to drum up some attention for the platform, which makes sense because there's a thing. His shows are on YouTube, so that they're not on network TV. But when I look at that clip, I just think, man, how fast things are happening. And Neil Mohan saying that just shows me he's not only advocating for it, he's probably really pushing for it. He's probably maybe whining and dining some people, going out, having the meetings, trying to see hey, how do we get some of these creators? Hey, did you see these metrics? Hey, have you seen this content? And making it happen. So good for him that he's doing that. And this is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning. In fact, I know for a fact that he is whining and dining those people because I'm sorry, I did not have the foresight to do this beforehand, but I did just notice on that watch through neutrally, all the way up there, you see the giant thing that says Emmys. If you were to really zoom in, you would see something else up there, and you might be able to recognize it because it's such an iconic logo. YouTube presents Emmys for news and documentaries.
There you go.
So YouTube literally paved the way for this to be broadcast because they're the ones who they're presenting sponsor. So that's all to say again, though. Well, how is YouTube doing it? They're operating like an old-fashioned broadcast network. Guess what? An easy way to get the attention of the people who are doing it is to pay your way there, right? Not to say it's right or wrong, but they're doing it, right? And so it makes a lot of sense to me. Why would this guy who makes these YouTube videos on another channel, who just randomly started this other news thing, get an award for this kind of obscure award in the middle of it? I mean, I'm not trying to say that anything happened there, but I can tell you this: it didn't hurt, for sure. Any thoughts about that before I say the other piece that's important?
Well, all looks kind of suspicious, but I love Johnny and his content is amazing. So,
and we love YouTube.
One thing I didn't see in that clip of us back in January that I kind of wish I said, but I'm going to say it right now. Most creators don't care about the Emmys or Grammys or that stuff. It would be amazing. And I'm sure some of the artists, especially that aspire to be in mainstream, would like to get an award. But, we're doing this without that, right? Without the machine. The machine is our own little team, our own little business, our little studios at home like this. We don't have to be plugged into that, bigger thing that moves so slowly, and there's gatekeepers and decision makers.
I know.
And so that's why, who cares if you're not on there? Who really cares? The leadership.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Neil Mohan. Why? Because if YouTube gets on those platforms, it's more money, more advertisers, and they become legitimate.
And by platform, you mean the Emmys, for example, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one and the same thing. It's just YouTube becomes, like you said, like a true network.
Yeah.
Right? Even though we're a platform for just streaming content for free, and they want that. And I've always been just fascinated by this need to want to be in the mainstream. That's kind of what made YouTube cool in the beginning. I'm not saying I'm cool. I'm just saying kind of the rebel in me like that. You could just broadcast yourself, no pun intended, for free, and people get to find you and determine if they like it. And if they do, they subscribe, they watch more content, algorithm suggests you, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and actually, the point that you're bringing up about this old guard and the ads and the mainstream is the reason why I think that this is significant, is because in that clip, like you said, YouTube had been kind of relegated to this corner thing, this sort of thing where it was like, hey, you can win streamies, and we might nominate you for an Emmy or two if you're like huge and have a show on Netflix, but we're probably not going to nominate you for an actual Emmy because you're not real TV. Well, the dominoes have started to fall. Everything that we've talked about for the last 2 years, and actually the last 6 months plus on this show, actually now it's more like 7 or 8 months on this show, is coming to fruition in its fullest sense, right? YouTube is the new TV. It's the new broadcast TV, period, basically, at this point. And more, I mean, Johnny's the first one. He's not the last. I can tell you that much. And guess what? More and more, I bet you'll start to see YouTubers take over those Emmys basically year by year.
This kind of reminds me of the fallout from the newspaper industry.
What do you mean?
Well, when blogs came on, right? The scene and the internet, and then even YouTube and social media. Well, newspapers just weren't like the quickest, fastest source for news, and people wanted to get their news from other places, from other voices. Basically, a lot of YouTubers that talk about news, they're journalists. I mean, they even call themselves journalists. Johnny Harris, his first Emmy was for journalism.
Yep.
And what happened to newspapers? They had to compete. Their margins were getting really crazy. They had to do layoffs. They had to be optimized. We know somebody that works at a news station where back in the day, there'd be 20, 30, 40 people on set, running cameras, audio, doing all the different things. Now we got a bunch of AI robots literally just hovering around the floor. It looks like that. And you got like 2 or 3 people running. I've been in Seattle's big news station, and I remember thinking, where is everybody? Like even the weatherman is like in the back. He's like doing research and like he's setting up his scene, and then he's running out on the floor and doing this thing. Like he didn't have a team of people like you used to. This is happening structurally. So what's the big like I want to call them almost like a mafia is SAG. You know what SAG is, right? In California. And I forgot what's it stand for.
A Screen Actors Guild, I believe.
Basically, it's just an organization. It's like a union, basically.
It is a union.
Well, what happens when all the production starts happening outside of that union? Well, that union has to get more competitive, right? Or the people in there, they're like, I kind of need more work, or I want to work with these YouTubers or these other, creators, and they're going to go outside of it because I don't know what the rules are. Point I'm trying to make is it's all kind of like crumbling down for TV and traditional Hollywood right now.
And what that means is that every single thing, all those dollars that went to newspapers went to bloggers or went to the new websites that were being created, like
or Google
Fox,
AdSense.
Or Google AdSense. Or just another medium altogether. But just a one-to-one comparison. Everything that's happening in broadcast journalism, as these stations get more and more competition from YouTube and YouTubers, well, the same thing's going to happen to YouTube. More and more of that money flows into YouTube. I want to play one more thing because this was a bit of local drama for us here in Seattle that happened just a couple of days ago, and it's also related to the Emmys and this changing of the guard. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see this.
I'm going to play it here for the audience.
Can't do what we can do.
He says creators can't do what we can do.
I have never seen a content creator sit face to face with a woman whose daughter, 18-year-old daughter, her only child died, and she poured her heart and soul to me in hopes of getting justice. Influencers don't do that. Storytellers do. I have never seen a content creator stand on the stoop of another person who lost her 2 children to gun violence and look me in the eye with dead honesty in a moment of realization and say, nobody will ever wish me happy Mother's Day again. Storytellers get that. And I didn't see a single influencer in Wenatchee last year when 3 little girls died at the hands of their own dad. When 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old girls were crying, facing grief for the first time in their lives. Influencers don't capture that moment. Storytellers do.
I'm going to pause it there because I think you kind of get the point of what he's sort of trying to say there. I will say before you reply, I want to just read what he said as someone who commented on that video. It's Jim Nelson TV on Instagram. He says, "Hi, it's me, the guy in the video. Very highbrow, big J journalist who only rides into town on his high horse. This is simply me sharing a moment with my friends. As I said off the bat, influencers and content creators do great things. You included, Steve. Because that's the person who posted it. If being proud of the work I've been doing for the last 20 years is wrong, I don't want to be right. There's room for all of us, this clown included. I'm not fearful of losing my moderately high-paying job, as some suggest. I've been fired before. I'll be fine. Winky face." When you see all of this, especially in the context of everything that we just discussed with Johnny Harris and the Emmys and the ads and the dollars and what's crumbling and what isn't, what do you say?
You want to hear me go on a rant?
I do.
I remember seeing this, and of course, it hits at the core of my life because you could say I'm an influencer, but I try to look at it objectively and also look at it from his perspective. So when I do that, guess what I see? Someone that has a chip on their shoulder. Why would he have a chip on his shoulder? Well, because influencers command so much attention that traditional media, newspapers, news stations, even like places where journalists would write for, they used to get a lot of traffic. They're not getting it. The influencers get it, okay? Second thing he says, like, storytellers. You know how many people are storytellers on YouTube? And I remember a few years ago meeting some local creators, specifically Tina, and I asked her, "What do you do?" She said, "Oh, I'm a storyteller." Right? And so I think that he's probably just putting everybody in one boat and not considering, like, influencer, there's a stigma to it, right? And I think everybody would define it different ways, but there are people that are influencers on YouTube and social media that do legit journalism, okay? They just do it like in a different way. And the last thing I would say, nothing against those stories. Those are important stories.
Totally.
But you know what? A lot of like influencers that are journalists that do storytelling don't have. They don't have the budgets to go there. Why does he? Well, because whatever organization he's working for sends him over there. But that's no judgment on those people. I'm telling you, I know there'd be people. Now, one that's doing it right now is Nick Shirley. Okay. Nick Shirley. I don't know if he's more like an investigative reporter, kind of controversial. But the point is, like, he goes out of his way to go investigate. But what this guy is talking about, I don't even know the guy's name, is just like a difference in worlds. He comes from a world where that was the whole point. That was the business model. And you send people out and you cover a story. Well, the influencers that are journalists, they have to talk about the stories from home with research that they do online. It's not always the most accurate way to do it, I believe, going out there. So when I saw that, I think, like, the question is, why did he comment on it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Why do you think he commented?
The simplest one is because it's probably a big topic of conversation right now. I mean, just like you said, with traditional newspapers kind of going the way of the dodo to some extent, the same thing is happening with local media at large, just generally speaking, which is really unfortunate in my opinion. I'll have more to say in that in just a second. And so it's a sensitive subject in the industry in the sense that, like, the industry that gave him the platform to do and I'll just say this, to do the important work that he is doing, right? And that the rest of the people in the news industry are doing, if that's going away, well, then so does that industry as well, right? And that's like a big concern of his. And so for him, like you say, that puts a chip on his shoulder because guess what? If influencers, as he calls them, are taking that attention away, well, you know what doesn't get paid? the local news because that attention is somewhere else.
And I was asking more about why did he put a comment on that post?
Oh, on the post because he's getting backlash about it.
He's getting backlash and he's trying to give context and maybe defend himself or whatever.
Totally.
But you know what? That shows you what he really thinks about the situation. That's why I say he has a chip on his shoulder. And like you said, because his job and his profession is at danger right now. Not him specifically, but there's all these young people, right? That are just doing it at home. Maybe not as good as him. I think maybe in some cases better than him, you know? Like Johnny Harris is a good example. Different kind of journalism, but he's literally going to other countries.
Yeah.
Deep diving and putting on full on documentaries. You know what's crazy about Johnny though? Sometimes he gets things wrong.
Totally.
You know, like the videos I like watching are the ones that nitpick his videos, say, oh, he was wrong about this or whatever. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. But point is this guy's frustration is a representation of an industry that is dying, if not evolving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's all I think. And this is just, again, the dollars are shifting because the attention has shifted.
Yeah, and I think that this is a great place for me to kind of speak about journalism because to me, I look at the thing that Johnny Harris is doing, right, and saying, oh, it's really interesting that he's putting together a newsroom of creators. The reason I put this in this segment about Johnny Harris is because it's literally head to head. These are two opposing pieces of the puzzle that there's no real middle ground between their worldviews, in my opinion here, right? And I guess what I would say about Jim Nelson, who's the guy in the video there, is that, you know, I get the sense that the thing that he is, and I don't mean to, you know, sort of psychoanalyze, but sort of like is grieving almost in this scenario, is the existing business model, the budgets that are allowing him to do that important work of the journalism. In fact, I would even draw a distinction that maybe I don't know if you would agree with here, which is that, you know, like a journalist is someone who does go out into the world and actually reports what they see. That's what a journalist is. It's not somebody who goes on their computer and is researching what
And that's
another
what
journalist
that guy is, right?
Jim Nelson?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Jim Nelson is doing. That's what Johnny Harris is doing in that scenario. The people who are doing like the research and doing those things, they're probably more like analysts is what I would call them, right?
And that's the label he's giving them, influencers.
Yeah, but Jim is looking at it as a monolith, which is definitely not true. In fact, it's almost the exact opposite. It's easier to look at the traditional media as a monolith, not as the internet, because the internet is so huge. Like his bucket of influencers is like me saying like, well, you know, people who are in Hollywood, all they do is make these made up stories and, you know, they do these crazy special effects all the time.
Yeah.
That's not true about his job at all.
Yeah.
And so to me, you know, when I think about Jim, I would actually love, Jim, since you're local, I would love if you come on the show and we talk about this. I think it'd be really, really cool to do that. But I think about that, the thing that he is facing is exactly what you hit home so perfectly, which is that idea of that business model going away and that the budgets may not be there anymore for the type of hard-hitting journalism that he's trying to advocate for, basically, in this clip. Now, the hopeful note that we end on here is that someone like Johnny Harris is saying, well, I think that we can do this if we all band together as creators on the internet. And like that is sort of why I marry these two, because I think that Johnny has the right idea, which is that if you band together Jim Nelson with Johnny Harris and you have your own creative place and you're doing the type of reporting that you can share in the wealth and then therefore share in the budget and then therefore potentially fund the type of things that you would want to see more of as a local news reporter. And I will say that brings us to a couple of days ago. This is the Johnny Harris show today, by the way, where Johnny was getting interviewed on stage at Press Publish. Now, Press Publish is this big thing. They're sort of their own news publication about the industry, very related to the online media space, and was specifically asked about the difference between a video and a show. And of course, I was nerding out about this because you and I talk about this all the time. We care about show theory because we think shows are the future of a lot of the most sustainable content on YouTube. Here's what he had to say.
A Johnny Harris video and a Johnny Harris show. And
What's the
why
difference
make
between these
the
things?
human element as a show rather than a series of videos?
YouTube is a volume game. Like, whether we like it or not, YouTube up until now has been make as many videos as you can possibly produce for an indefinite amount of time, because that's how you keep the lights on. And the incentives are there to just keep making stuff. I've been in those trenches for the last 5 years. It's been amazing. I've grown as a creator. We've built this big audience. But it's a very different thing to sit down and do this thing that in the old world they called development. This is a thing that I've never had to do before, because development is just what video am I making next? But starting last fall, I sat down and said, in a dream world, if I had unlimited budget, what would I make? And I started to actually put real time into developing the mission of a show, the vibe of a show. I did so much like art direction and like sort of inspiration and references. I watched a lot of film. I started to like get my head around like a dream. And that was development. And it was the first time I had ever actually done that. And so I think a show is a more intentional vision around, whereas a video is sort of standalone, you make the video, it goes out, it maybe is really good. A show has a bigger, more intentional mission that underpins it.
That underpins it is what he ends with saying there. So we just talked about a lot of that, which is kind of crazy to think about. But he says a couple of things in there that stood out to me, and I want to hear what your reaction is. He says YouTube is a volume game, and he says a show has a bigger, more intentional mission. Those are the things I want to come back to. But what is your reaction to that clip?
My first one is, why is he developing a show if his videos are successful?
Very good question.
Okay, the reason I'm a fan is because his videos are really interesting. They're really cool, informative. I think that because I geek out on geopolitics and maps and geography and other countries and history, that his show makes all that really entertaining to watch, okay?
Yeah.
Rather than me hearing it from a newscaster on some like news channel, even on YouTube. Visually, it's really cool. He'll like put the map out on the table and like do these drawings. And I think that's really cool to me. You know,
Yeah.
like just draw on the map.
That's why he won an Emmy for graphic design.
Yeah. But why a show? And so my theory here, this is complete theory. I don't know the guy. He obviously didn't go into depth or give more context. My theory is one of two things, if not both. One, a show is more memorable than just a video. What's the top 3 shows that you think are popular in the last 20 years?
In the last 20 years, it depends if you count in ones that were created before, but like I would definitely include The Office because the Netflix revived it. I would say that I would include something.
Friends, okay.
Yeah, no, Friends also got revived, although I think it still burned brighter in the era where it was airing on broadcast
name a third
TV.
one.
And
Seinfeld.
wow, I want to name something more current, like something like
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
So the reason I bring that up is if you were to ask me the same question, which you actually did of Johnny Harris's videos, I couldn't even remember them really. Okay. I had to go to his channel and then I remembered them.
Yeah.
But if he had a show, I would definitely remember the show. Now he kind of has like these series that I do remember, but it's just so much volume. Guess what? I do remember him. And that was the thing about creators that I think was really significant in the beginning, and it is still now, but they're realizing it's not enough. YouTube, broadcast yourself. You are the show, okay? And we knew this. Like my wife, like her channel name is called It's Judy's Life, so her name's in it. But it was literally the show that revolved around her personal life and her experiences, her perspective. But what he's talking about is let's take a show that people will remember and maybe come back for. You know the thing with Johnny Harris? I don't go to YouTube like, I hope he uploaded.
Yeah.
And I would say like I'm a super fan of his. I wait to the algorithm to show it to me. But if he had a show that I knew came out every single Sunday evening, then I would actually maybe go back to it. Not just because I'm a fan of his, but I'm a fan of his show. And there's a second reason, which we talk about a lot. Again, this is just a theory of why he wants a show. Because you could get even more money from sponsors. A sponsor might want to be like the underwriter for the expenses. You know, that's one of the things with creating content, whether you're a daily vlogger or like you have like a legit documentary style production like him, it costs money.
Yeah.
It costs time. well, if you can get, like the thing with sponsors, oftentimes I think he has got regular sponsors, but even those regular sponsors, I can tell because sometimes when they record, it's not like at the same time of the video, they're just using a spot and just probably like dragging it in.
Totally.
So it can be all over the place. But a sponsor being aligned with a show, then you don't have to worry about the money. What did we just talk about? About why, like being in those big machines is good? Because they have the money. I think that's what he was just saying in this clip.
Yeah.
Like, it costs a lot of money, a lot of time and everything. So having that show to be able to sell and get support is really important, rather than literally just like off the wall kind of ideas, because that was just, again, old school thinking. That's old school YouTube thinking. It still works, but you know what's going to work even better right now, because all these advertisers are coming into the scene? Shows. And that's where we're at this weird thing where two worlds are colliding. YouTube is colliding with the TV world, but it's all on one platform now. And so you're going to have even more of a mix up here. Some creators will have a show maybe on their channel, but still have those random videos as well. People are starting to do that. We call those series, right? Rather than a show. So that's just my thoughts about him saying that. It's interesting hearing him talk about this. I never watched the outside of the channel content of him.
Yeah, like his behind the scenes director's
Yeah,
commentary
because he
stuff.
usually nerds out about maps and like geopolitics or history. So now he's talking about like, this is what I think about as, the person who has to run the business.
Totally.
Has to think about, like he said, development.
Yeah, I mean, like first and foremost, he's a creator in this scenario, right? And that's kind of the amazing thing. And there was a piece of this. I wanted to put this clip in here, obviously, because we're talking about Johnny Harris, and there's a lot of news about it right now. But also because I wanted to use it as a chance to develop show theory, because they're talking about it here. Now, the interesting thing is I think that they still distinguish, oh, this is like a capital S show. Like you're going and you're making shows because you have the money to do it, right? I'm kind of like shows a little bit more broad on YouTube. And definitely, I think you should say that a show is a continuum between things. And in fact, you were the one that taught me that. When we were creating Vlogging Academy, one of the things that you talked about was that there are 3 different phases that a creator goes through. Phase 1, you're 100% volume. You're just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks. Phase 2, you're getting a little bit smarter about like, okay, I'm going to do follow up on this one because it hit the algorithm, right? I'm going to iterate on this title and do a different version or a follow-up to it because it worked, right? You're developing these pillars almost of your channel, as people call them. Phase 3, you have those pillars established, and guess what? Each one of those, or maybe just one of them, is your show. It's so specific that you actually have a show. In fact, early on when we were discovering that YouTube was kind of the new broadcast TV, we literally said that this now, phase 3, is the show phase. Like that's what it is. And so I think that you can go from doing that volume game that Johnny is sort of, he's not bemoaning it there, but he's sort of just shouting it out as a reality of YouTube, and iterate your way to a show rather than thinking, oh, some people are volume people and some people are show people. No, you kind of work your way between those things, because the last thing you taught me was that always, 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 when you're in phase 3, when you're in that show phase, everybody has to go back to phase 1 at some point or another. And so that was my thought, is that we have not really gotten there yet with the show phase of YouTube, I think, but we're about to probably see that again at some point or another. The second thing that I wanted to use as development for show theory was his idea of a bigger, more intentional mission. And that goes 100% along with what we just said about phase 3, which is that when you have a show, the thing that you're trying to achieve is a bigger purpose. There's a bigger goal involved. There's something more that you have to say than you can fit within a single video. And that fits along exactly with what you said, that it's more memorable because it's a bigger undertaking, right? Every episode of that show should be satisfying in its own right. It should have a mission of its own. But across the arc of an entire season, or across the entire arc of the show, or whatever you might say, it's really trying to have a thesis or something that is trying to say that's even bigger than just what you can achieve in any individual video. Any thoughts on that before we get to the next thing?
No, it's not what you have to do on YouTube, but it is the thing that people are starting to do on YouTube because it makes you more memorable and potentially creates like binge watching type of sessions.
Yes.
And the algorithm kind of understands it without you telling it's a show. The audience is the algorithm, so if they understand it. And then secondly, I think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of sponsorships and people investing in your show, because they can wrap their brain around a show, you know, rather than like every video is just random stuff and you're really just sponsoring my channel versus now you're sponsoring a show. And the thing is this, a show typically can be way more successful than any single video can be.
That's exactly right. And that's the last thing I'll say before we move on to the next topic, which, spoiler alert, is another Johnny Harris topic.
Wow.
I know. I told you it's going to be the Johnny Harris show today. He wanted Emmys. Come on. I mean, like, come on. Like, he deserves it. One of the most significant things that we've talked about that you bring up all the time is that idea of guaranteed satisfaction. And at a first level, the most obvious version of that is that the creator is satisfying their viewer every single time. That's what a show is in a lot of ways. If you know that you like a show, you're definitely going to watch it again because you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be satisfied at the end of this. That's what you mean by guaranteed satisfaction. Well, I think it goes deeper because the only stakeholder is not just the viewer, although I think that in a lot of ways they're one of the most important ones. Of course, on the flip side, the other stakeholder is the creator. If you know that you can create that consistent sort of feedback loop where you're getting the views, well, of course, you are as a creator going to be happy. You're always looking for ways to find things that are more consistent. Well, who's going to love it most of all is the advertiser. And this is why it's working to sell a show to these advertisers, is that they can get guaranteed satisfaction as well. And I don't mean just the views. I also mean the type of content that they're getting as well. One of the biggest things from an advertiser's perspective, if you can put yourself in their shoes, that they don't know what they're going to get necessarily. It's always a question mark about that whenever you are doing something like a brand deal. So if you have a show and they kind of know what they're going to get out of it, well, then they're much more likely to be like, this is a fit for me. I want to buy ad space on this show. And that's why I think that idea of guaranteed satisfaction in the context of a show is so important, because every single party involved leaves more satisfied than before. And that's why show theory is going to be so significant through the rest of 2026 if you needed any more evidence that that's going to be the case. And it's that core principle that Benji came up with, which is guaranteed satisfaction. Like I said, I have one more Johnny Harris video here for us to watch mutually. Let's take it away.
I'll see a Johnny Harris video come across my feed, and pretty quickly 1 million people have watched it. Pretty quickly 3 million people have watched it.
Yeah.
Like, how are you thinking about, like, dude, I know 1 million people are going to want to watch this.
I don't have a checkbox. I don't have a template. I don't have a list. We did that for a couple of years. We like went into the data. We optimized. We had like a filter. We'd have pitch meetings. And we come back to this same thing that's actually become kind of the doctrine of what we're building, not just with my channel, but with New Press, which is creator-led channels. And the answer is obsession and curiosity. It is, I feel it in my bones. I have to know about this thing. And I feel the excitement about making it. And if I feel that, it's a certain feeling inside of me. And it's a certain vision. I can see some of the scenes. I don't even know what the story is yet, but I can see the scenes. Like right now, I'm doing this story in Palau, this like island in the South Pacific. It's sinking, and I had visions of literally like going spearfishing with these locals who are experiencing a changing ocean and talking to them, and like going into these lagoons. I just had that vision, and I got so excited I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I talk about it all the time. If that spark is there, I know it will not just do well; it will like hit big. And so we actually are quite religious about creator first, about the idea that even as we institutionalize, even if we take money or we partner or whatever, we aren't going to compromise that chemistry that happens inside of the passion of one person and the thing they're curious about.
So there you go. If you're looking at, and this I think applies to both shows and videos, if you're looking about how Johnny Harris comes up with viral ideas, his idea is this: obsession and curiosity. When you hear that, what do you think about, Benji?
Well, one of my favorite apps on my phone is Google Maps. I'm so passionate about it. That sounds weird. That when Apple got rid of it, I went out of my way to still have the Google Maps because you could always have it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have Apple Maps on there. I just refuse to use it because I like the map look and feel of Google Maps. Why do I bring this up? I was in the Boy Scouts when I was younger. I had to learn how to read maps and actually use a compass to get around.
I love that.
And then when I started driving, I had all the different maps of the different states I would go to and countries I would go to in the back seat of my car. Okay. Just in case I need, because actually people use maps to get to places. And then when MapQuest went out, came about, you would print things out, but I still wanted the physical map. What's better than that? A Google map that's everywhere, everything. And the thing is, I love his show. Not for the maps itself, but the curiosity about places and the obsession to learn about that place. The creator is the viewer. This is what made YouTube obviously so special to me, because my wife, she was just the girl next door type of person that was into makeup but not a professional, and went to drugstores to buy affordable makeup, and she would share on YouTube on her channel, and other people like that would watch it. So Johnny Harris is just me, except he's taken to another level and making it a video, and I love it. I just have it playing on the background. When I think about it, I think outside of podcasts, I watch his channel more than anybody else, and I feel like we probably have a lot of difference of opinions on a lot of things, but our similar obsession and curiosity about maps and the world is what makes his content so good to me. So if you're a creator and you're obsessed about something, well, guess what? Put that into a video format, and it's a winning formula to get someone's attention. I say this all the time about vlogging, the new vlog method, which is based off of this. If there's something I say that cranks your wheel, that you're interested in, or you're obsessed about, maybe you're super passionate, it's a hobby, it's a profession, it doesn't matter what it is, but you think there's no one else on the planet that is into it. No, I think we've proven there's somebody else out there. In fact, it could be the tune of tens of thousands, if not 100,000 or 1 million plus. Well, in his case, he probably has millions of map lovers that watch his content. Your job as a creator is to actually scratch that itch that you have and translate it to content. And how you do it will be up to your creative, thoughts and instincts. But the point is, if you do it in a way where other people get to scratch that itch that they also have, man, you're off to the races. People will watch the entire thing, and the algorithm just knows how to find those people.
Yeah.
And so he put it so eloquently in terms of, how does he know when something is? He's like, rather than knowing if this is going to do well, it starts from the very beginning. Am I honestly covering something that's interesting to me, that I'm obsessed about? And my job is to equate that into a video. He didn't really say it there. The video that I would want to watch, or the person that's subscribed would also want to watch, because we're interested in the exact same thing. That's why, if him and I were to hang out, we would talk for hours. I'd pick his brain. Maybe he wouldn't pick my brain as much, but we would probably talk about geopolitics, the different countries and borders.
And the creator economy?
For sure. That's a whole nother channel thing, right? So yeah, that's 100% true. And that's all you need to know. And then your job is to get really good at production.
Yes.
And that's why I feel like for him, he got a little bit of a leg up at the beginning, because some of that production or the things around it that doesn't have anything to do with the video was supported by Vox, the channel that he had his original show on.
Yeah, I think what you said there is very significant, that the creator is the viewer. I mean, the thing that people forget about the internet, it is just so big. It's huge. And so if you have an interest, it's a guarantee, almost guarantee. I can't even think of anything that wouldn't be a guarantee here, that someone else is also interested in that exact same thing. In fact, probably 1,000 people are interested in the same thing. Maybe even 10,000 or 100,000 people are interested in that same thing. And that's why the internet's such a fascinating and unusual thing in the history of humanity. The phrase that he used in that video that I think is core to us is the idea of being creator first. He's like, even as I build this news organization, basically, from creators, I'm never going to forget that creators have the best ideas. And actually, you and I believe this 100% in our work in our agency, right? That it's easy for brands to forget, it's easy for people who are collaborating to forget that the reason creators are so successful is because it's their ideas being expressed to their audience, right? And more, as brands want to start working with creators, if you're trying to reach the people that they're reaching, you should probably listen to them because they know how to speak to those people. The medium is the message in that case. And the thing that really stood out to me, like I said at the very beginning, is those two words that you brought up over and over again in terms of the things that he was talking about, obsession and curiosity. It reminded me, and I promised you that we would talk a lot about these old ideas on the web. In 2009, this is a while ago in terms of internet years, there was a great talk by John Gruber and Merlin Mann, who are two early bloggers that had these very successful websites. John Gruber's still at it. He's posting about Apple at his website, Daring Fireball. Merlin Mann had a website called 43 Folders, which talked a lot about productivity for many years, and it was sunset after a period of time. And back when South by Southwest was a much smaller gathering, they actually had a talk that they gave about this thing that they said was obsession times voice. I'm going to read from the blog post that Gruber has from 2009 on Daring Fireball about this, but it's worth going there and actually listening to the thing because it's truer than ever today, in my opinion. He says, my friend Merlin Mann and I had a session at South by Southwest Interactive about 2 weeks ago. It certainly wasn't a panel, and it wasn't really a presentation. It was more like an hour-long duet rant, the main goal of which was to inspire anyone who wants to publish or write on the web to pursue their obsessions in a serious way. We got the audio recording of the session from South by Southwest a few days ago, recorded a short intro and outro segment, and Merlin spliced it together and published it on his 43 Folders podcast. I encourage you to go ahead and listen to it. Links are in the description as well as in the blog post that I've linked as well. I'll come right out and say it. I love how the talk turned out. My muse for the session was this quote from Walt Disney. Quote, "We don't make movies to make money. We make money to make more movies." To me, that's it. That's the thing. There's one obvious way to make money publishing on a website, and that's CPM advertising, wherein you charge advertisers a penny or two for every single page view that you get. And if that's your game, and that's what drives you and the dough, well, if your web server gets a hit, right? If when your web server gets a hit, you think, cool, another reader, but instead, ooh, a shiny penny, it will lead you down what the good Dr. Thompson called, quote, a cruel and shallow money trench through the heart of the journalism industry, a long plastic hallway where the thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs for no good reason, end quote. No one gets into something like this without an obsession, but if your obsession is with the money and your revenue is directly correlated to page views, then rather than to write or produce anything with any actual merit or integrity, you'll dance like a monkey and split your articles across multiple pages and spend more time ginning up sensational dig-bait headlines, D-I-G-G, the platform that we won't get into here, than writing articles themselves. It's thievery, not of money, but of readers' attention. What's so great, so amazing about this racket is that it doesn't have to be that way. You can obsess over your work, build an audience based on deep mutual respect, and eventually opportunities to earn money from it will present themselves. I don't know how it works. I only know that it does work. Here's Jonathan Colton a few days ago on how he made it work as a full-time, self-published musician and songwriter. Quote, "But somewhere along the way, the bottom line started improving, and I became less obsessed with tracking every little thing. Now I sort of think of the whole engine as a special genetically engineered cow who eats music and poops money. I have no idea what's going into its gut, and I have the luxury of not really caring that much about the particulars. The state of the industry makes a lot more sense when you think about it this way. All these new business models rising and falling, internet radio choking on insanely high performance royalties, Radiohead and NIN giving stuff away and making a killing. This is the thing about the new landscape that drives everyone crazy. You can't see inside the cow. You can only build one, feed it music, and wait for it to poop." One of my favorite segments from our South by Southwest talk was this bit from Merlin. Topic times voice. Or, if you're a little bit more of a maverick, obsession times voice. What does that mean? I think all of the best nonfiction that has ever been made comes from the result of someone who can't stop thinking about a very certain topic, a very specific aspect of a certain topic in some cases. And second, they got really good at figuring out what they had to say about it, end quote. My only quibble is that I don't think it's limited to nonfiction. There's an easy formula for doing it wrong. Publish attention-getting bullshit and pull stunts that generate mindless traffic. The entire quote-unquote pro-blogging industry, which exists as the sort of pimply teenage brother and the shirt and tie SEO industry, is predicated on the notion that blogging is a meaningful verb. It is not. The verb is writing. The format and the medium are new, but the craft is ancient. Obsession times voice is a pretty good stab at a simple formula for doing it right. Obsession times voice from John Gruber during Fireball. What do you think of when you hear that?
Yeah, he's trying to tell you why blogs are popular.
And in this case, why YouTubers are popular, why creators are popular, why influencers are popular, why people who are not bloggers, but sometimes vloggers are popular.
Yeah, it's their obsession on something that you're also obsessed about, and their ability to create content that lets you share in that obsession when you're watching the thing. I've never met Johnny. I'm trying to think if I've ever crossed paths with him at one of these events. I think I've seen him at an event before. But when I'm watching it, it's the same as like if you're into maps, okay? And you and I just started talking about maps. Well, when I watch that video, in a way, it's like I'm having a one-sided conversation with Johnny about maps.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're listening to whatever he's saying at
Exactly.
a party.
I can't like respond to him because obviously it's a video, but everyone can relate to having this deep discussion about something you're obsessed with another person that's also obsessed with them, and how you guys can talk for hours and hours and hours. That is the power of a video on YouTube. If you're the one creating that content about the thing that you're obsessed about. And that's why. And so I just had like kind of a random thought though. There's a limitation to that type of content, you know, like shows though, compared to TV and Hollywood.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know if we're going to get into it. In fact, we are going to get into another topic. But what makes most shows powerful that we think of? In fact, all three of those shows that you meant, or the two that you mentioned, right? One, well, actually, you mentioned one, which was Office. Neutrally mentioned Friends, and then I mentioned Breaking Bad. What do all three of those have in common?
Great storytelling?
Yeah, but even more specific, all fictional.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
The thing about YouTube and all the content, most of it is real.
Yeah.
It's nonfiction, I guess you could say.
Yeah, which is what Gruber's talking about a little bit there.
Right? Because you're a real person. You're talking about your real thoughts or whatever. And then when it becomes fiction, it becomes something else.
Yeah.
So this is like maybe one of those clips that maybe we'll watch a year from now or years from now. I will say there's a limitation to just creating a show on YouTube. You have to tell a really good story, and I would actually say almost a fictional story.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's hard to have. I mean, okay, one of my favorite movies of all time right now, Top Gun Maverick. I love that. But can you imagine that happening in real life? Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible to even capture that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have to almost set that up for it to. That's a story. That's like a show, or in that case, that's a movie. So I say all that because all this money's following, right? Where the attention is. But this is going back to what that John guy said, or who's that? The journalist, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll go back and Jim.
There's some limitations to what a creator can do. I don't know. It's just like kind of like off the wall thought I just had. And, but I think, are we going to cover the next story?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about it in just a second.
Okay,
but
cool.
Like I said, I think just to close out this topic first, that core idea of having a voice, if you have something that, like you say, cranks your wheel, if you have an O word, obsession, that's what we called it in a previous episode, using that voice is part of, like what you said, created Vlogging Academy. And Vlogging Academy students are the sole supporters of this week's episode. Vlogging Academy, in a nut, is the first ever vlogging system designed for the new era of YouTube. I mean, I think that if you've been listening to this, you kind of get it now at this point. But Benji, I want you to tie these threads together. When it comes to Vlogging Academy, why is right now the right time for vlogging, and why is Vlogging Academy the right tool to get to the place where you are a vlogger?
Yeah, well, in the context of shows and creating your own show on YouTube, one of the hard things is there's a lot of work. There's a lot of skills that's needed. Not everyone just can, like, out of nowhere from zero experience create a show. Even Johnny Harris, he started as like somebody that worked on a team on another person's channel, and then got to the point where he could start his own channel and then even think about creating a show. Why vlogging is great, it's a logical progression to getting your own show if you're starting from zero. Now, the thing is this, anyone, even somebody like me who is a seasoned creator, can take advantage of the new vlog method. But what it does is, no matter where you're at in the skill game, starting with vlogs, it makes creating videos on YouTube easy.
Yeah.
And yes, you do it a lot, but my method makes it super easy to do it a lot. And then what happens over time, because you start with volume, in fact, Johnny Harris even said, YouTube is a volume game until it's not, until it's a quality game. So we call it phase one, where you're just doing a lot. You're figuring out what you're good at. You're getting better at doing that thing. And then you also understand what the audience wants. Phase two, you start understanding what videos pop off, right? You do more of those and less of the other ones. And then it naturally leads into phase three, which we never called it the show phase, but now we are, because ultimately in phase three, you're only vlogging about one type of thing, and that becomes your show, even if it's vlog style, something that people can wrap their brain around, they can expect. It's guaranteed satisfaction. You're not experimenting as much. The new vlog method in Vlogging Academy teaches you how to get to that point where you can start your own show if you have no experience. Or even if you have a lot of experience, what it does, it lets you blast through all those phases to get to a show on a brand new channel and take advantage of this new era that we're in, which I call the TV era, which hence why shows kind of make sense. And that's why I think it's a perfect, I'd say, not only recipe, but also like guidebook to starting your own show on YouTube.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, I think the best example of this is honestly your channel. It's not just new channels that are doing this. It's channels that are older that need reviving. I mean, you had a channel where you were posting videos, to use the Johnny Harris term in this scenario, right? And those videos were great. I mean, they had a style. They were short. They were recipe videos. That was how I started working with you, is I got to edit these like really highly produced recipe videos that were early on YouTube. But as that kind of petered out for you, that channel also petered out as well. And then what happened is that you went through those phases with the framework that we turned into Vlogging Academy, and quickly got through phase one, phase two, and landed in kind of a phase three where you had a show that was a little bit like a Costco shopping show to some extent, really like grocery shopping for food and occasionally cooking, but like your real pillar show was like people who were like really passionate and obsessed with Costco, which is kind of an interesting cohort there. And so that was made super easy by following your 3 T's, which we teach at Vlogging Academy. You can learn more at vloggingacademy.com. We have a whole set of free tools for you to use there, as well as our paid course if you want to get started there at vloggingacademy.com. Again, thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy who make this week's episode possible. Time for a change of pace. No longer Johnny Harris, and I think that this is the topic that you wanted to cover, so I hope so. And I will say this, one of my hobby horses, as everybody knows, is YouTubers becoming filmmakers. I love film. I wanted to be like a Hollywood director for a little bit. I also loved YouTube, and so it's kind of a perfect marriage for me. All of that is why I'm excited that Carla sent me this. She says, hey, let me just pull it up here on my screen. Hey, since I love to share this kind of stuff because it may connect in some way with CSP, I found this. A YouTuber is the youngest director for an A24 movie. The story is super interesting, and people say it's an awesome movie. She's talking about Backrooms. And not too long after that, Benji sent me this. A screenshot of CNN saying how YouTubers are beating Disney at their own game. And then another one, Valuetainment, saying a meme became a movie. YouTube creators Backrooms crushes something. I don't know what the rest of it said. And you said, yo, going viral, YouTuber beats Disney. Tell me what you meant.
Yeah, so on the note of show and why I was talking about how the best shows usually are fictional stories, I heard about this Backrooms movie. I didn't realize it was a YouTuber, director, or producer, or whatever. I just remember thinking like, oh, another kind of horror film. Looked kind of interesting. Maybe I'll watch it, but I didn't take it seriously. Well, I guess it's out.
Yeah.
And it's doing really well. And what makes it significant is I think it's got a pretty low budget, not like a crazy high budget, but it's winning out compared to Disney. And what's notable is that people are taking note of it. They're paying attention. It's a story. Okay, just to give you an example, CNN, we all know what that is. The other one, Valuetainment, it's Patrick Bet-David. He has a podcast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's covering it too. Why? Probably because it's trending. So on the note of two worlds colliding, we're talking about one world's winning.
Yeah.
At least in this scenario, right?
Yeah.
It ain't no Top Gun Maverick, but pound for pound, it's where, and it's a YouTuber. You're the one that we're saying like you're gonna start seeing YouTubers show up in these worlds, and
Totally.
it is. And so it's like happening. So Johnny Harris wins an Emmys. Boom. Right? He's competing against all these other, TV shows and networks and studios. A YouTuber is directing this movie. Fairly low budget, I think, and doing really well. I'm getting it mixed up with another movie called Obsession. So respect to Obsession. You guys had a super low budget, and you guys are killing it. But Backrooms, YouTube director. He probably proved himself on YouTube, right? Gained skills there. I don't know if he was making his own movies on YouTube or not. But guess what? They're going to give him a chance. I wonder if some of his influence had to do with it. I'm going to make a guess that had nothing to do with the success of the movie. The movie is successful because it's a good story. That's my theory, and that's the big story. That regardless if he had a lot of fans that's helping pump up the movie, or like he's from YouTube, it's just the fact that this is not a crazy big studio, and they're beating out Disney, who that's their job, is to make movies that we all love and probably have big budgets. So this is just the beginning, I think.
Is Disney making movies to make money or making money to make movies? That's the real question with Walt Disney gone. I'm going to push back a little bit in the sense that I will say this. I agree 100% that if the story was not good, if it was not a good film, it would not be finding the success or turning the heads the way that it is now. There is a connection, though, and we're going to get to it in a second. I just want to quickly call back to a couple of other stories that we've been covering, though, too. All different levels of scale for all of these. But the very first one that we covered on the show was Two Sleepy People, which was a couple of TikTokers, or a few TikTokers getting together and just doing an indie film, 100% self-funded, like $100,000, extremely low budget, and getting it in an indie film circuit throughout the US, kind of distribution in theaters. I would say it was a success for the scope that they set out to do. It was a good movie, too. Markiplier with Iron Lung, we just talked about a couple weeks ago on the show. He completely self-funded, bought the IP from the game that it was based off of, had a ton of success in terms of getting a box office return, and I think retains most of the rights as well to a lot of that as well. 100% made. I guess you would call that indie as well, but like self-published, self-made. I think undoubtedly in both of those cases, their existing audience was a huge part of the reason why they were able to achieve their goals. Two Sleepy People, they're posting all the time on Instagram. They're posting all the time on TikTok saying, hey, come see our indie film. And I guarantee you, it worked for me. It got me in a seat there in a movie theater and watching it. I'm not the only one. I can tell you that much. Markiplier, famously, in fact, we discussed this. He did not have basically any marketing budget for a film, which is unheard of for a movie of that type of scale, or really of most movies getting into theaters, because guess what? He had an existing audience that is huge on YouTube that he was able to reach and market to, and that is what he attributes to its success. Let me read from the article that Carla sent me here. I believe it was at, let me just make sure. I think it was Deadline. I'm sorry, I lost it in the mix here a little bit.
What's the name of the director?
I'm not sure, actually. Let me pull it up. Here it is. Actually, sorry. It was from The Hollywood Reporter. And this is Ryan Gajewski from The Hollywood Reporter saying this. Filmmaker Kane Parsons, that's the name, is ready to make Backrooms from YouTube to the big screen. The 20-year-old Parsons, who will become A24's youngest feature director when the studio releases his horror movie in theaters on May 29th, took the stage at CCP Mexico on Saturday to share insight into his process. I'm going to skip ahead. Backrooms adapts a YouTube series that Parsons began uploading to YouTube as a teen in early 2022, taking its origins from urban legend and various web posts. The videos centered on an infinite maze of rooms with humming fluorescent lights and yellow wallpaper. In the A24 and Chernin Entertainment film, I actually don't know how to pronounce his name, Rienz? Plays the therapist who must track down a missing patient in a bizarre dimension. A24 and Chernin Entertainment are the co-financiers of the project. Parson explained the movie that the existing series and lore as a jumping off point to examine its characters. Quote, it does take more of a specific approach where you're seeing it through the lens of these specific characters, these individuals living these atomized, lonely lives, he says. In the film, there's rarely a moment where there's more than one or two characters on the screen at a given time. It's a pretty lonely film. So, in summary, he was posting a series to YouTube that had a ton of success on YouTube as a series that he was just making in Blender, I believe.
I'm looking at the video right now on his YouTube channel. I'm fascinated because, this show, you can see it has shown up on his channel for the last few years. And he has videos that are like only 4 minutes long or something like that. And it's showing like footage in the back rooms. I've seen the Backrooms trailer. It's funny watching this YouTube video because these are just like bite-sized pieces of what I assume could be in the movie. And this video has 11 million views.
And so that I can guarantee you did the same thing that happened with Two Sleepy People, did the same thing with Markiplier, even more so, arguably, because he was creating those videos, has existing lore, has an existing world, and then turned that environment into a movie.
Wow. No, this is crazy. We should be showing this guy's channel right now.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Because I didn't know this was even a thing. I didn't read into this story. But yeah, this is exactly why this movie is doing well. Because he created not just super fans for himself, but surprise, surprise, super fans for the show. I wouldn't be surprised if someone like even Johnny Harris is looking at this as like, dang, I don't have anything like this, right? I don't have anything mainstream. I mean, he did do New York Times, but this is crazy. But again, fictional show. This is a fictional show. I'm fascinated. I kind of want to watch this now, like the actual YouTube videos, and then go watch the movie to see like, yeah. And you know what it's like? Okay, a good example of this right now, it's not doing as well, but Mandalorian on Disney. So Mandalorian is a character in the Star Wars universe, and the Mandalorian was a show during the pandemic. It was popular that I watched with my daughter, okay? One specific daughter that was into it. Having all girls, you don't think they're going to care about Star Wars. I know this for a fact because they don't care about Star Wars except for one. So we watched Mandalorian. We love it. And it was one of those unique shows where I'm not watching it with my wife. I'm watching it with one of my daughters. And so the movie finally came out and I'm asking her, hey, do you want to watch it? And she does want to watch it. Now that movie didn't do well, but the reason I'm going to go watch it regardless is because I was a fan of the show and I want to go watch it. Now this is Disney producing this. You don't have to be Disney to get the same kind of fandom and curiosity to go watch it. This is really cool.
The amazing thing too is that I recommend reading that article. The Hollywood Reporter article is really good that Carla sent me. And one of the things he talks about is that, a lot of those videos, I believe he created in Blender, right? Which is like the free 3D editing software to some extent, or maybe stage them or something like that. And so when he gets to the movie, he's using that same tool that he used to make his YouTube videos to stage what the actual set that they're building for him for the movie will look like. And he goes and he passes off this Blender environment to the people who are like his set designers. And he goes and they go and film another set of scenes basically. And he comes back a few days later and he goes in and he's like, oh my God, the thing that I created in Blender is real. Like they just made it happen because he has a budget finally, right?
Oh, all these aren't real?
I'm not sure. He might be doing some staging there, but of his own. Definitely not on the scale. I think they said it was like, it was like 10 or 30,000, like in the tens of thousands of square feet.
Oh yeah,
of
the,
space
the
that they
set
used.
for sure. Yeah.
And so it's just amazing to see that. And so again, more and more add the Backrooms to the set of movies that are being created by YouTubers, marketed by YouTubers, and funded by these traditional, well, in this case, the first one that's funded by a traditional studio. And it's just going to keep happening, Benji. Guess what? One of these is going to win an Oscar someday, not just an Emmy.
Oh yeah, that's the big one.
That's the
the
big one.
Oscar.
And it's going to show up on YouTube or something. That's going to be crazy.
You want to know what the irony of everything we just talked about, though?
Yeah, tell me.
And awards is, one of the first true YouTubers already won the biggest award in music, Justin Bieber.
Yeah, true.
And it's interesting because it was so early. He made the jump. So he went into YouTube to help him get his publicity and become famous, and then went into traditional, right? Like in the music industry.
Yeah,
and
he
got signed as a label.
exited YouTube's sphere at
For
that
sure.
point because
And
it
then
was so big.
and then literally not only wins a Grammy, probably. I don't know if he's won a Grammy actually.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look at. I hope he's won a Grammy. I'm pretty sure that guy's won a Grammy. But how did he get even more famous? He put his YouTube videos through Vivo, onto YouTube. Has he won a Grammy?
This, according to the AI overview on Google, says he's won 2.
Okay, yeah.
Best Dance Recording 2016 and Best Country Duo / Group Performance 2021.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so we're just in an era now where it's not just the talent though that you have, it's also the viewership and the fandom that come along with it that's really powering it. Like you said, Johnny Harris arguably maybe have won that partly because it was influenced by YouTube not only sponsoring the Emmys, but maybe kind of, like you said, wining and dining some of the people around it. I don't want to take away from what Johnny
Not at
Harris
all.
is
No, I don't mean to do that at all.
accomplishing, but it just seems like, wow, what's this is kind of like funny timing. But yeah, this is cool. No, I'm actually like fascinated right now by Backrooms.
Well, bringing us all the way back down to earth, some of the things that us non-show creating creators yet, or the ones who are kind of just getting started or looking to find a full-time living doing content on the internet. There was a really interesting thing that came across my homepage on YouTube last week, and it was this video here from YouTube. From this it's from YouTube Creators is the account, and the new series that they're creating is called The Brand Deal Desk. I was like, oh, that's interesting. We just started an agency. Like, what's YouTube doing? They've been doing all sorts of weird things with brand deals. I remember hearing that there was going to be things that were happening. And if you watch through it, I'm not going to play it here. It's a very like high level brand deal stuff. This is just episode 1, so it makes a lot of sense. They're just introducing what brand deals are. It's very digestible. It's pretty well made. And I'd say it's worth the watch if you haven't seen it yet and if you kind of want to learn about the basics of brand deals. But it's clear to me that the reason that they made this video is because there's a new tool that they're releasing, or that they actually did release on YouTube back at the beginning of the year, and it's called YouTube Creator Partnerships. Here it is from YouTube's blog with the title, YouTube Creator Partnerships, a new era for brand and creator collaborations. They say, creator marketing is entering a new era, and YouTube creators are in an unmatched position to connect brands with audiences they care about and deliver stronger results. This competitive advantage is rooted in a deep sense of community. This was a crazy stat to me, by the way, guys. 79% of Gen Z viewers say YouTube creators form communities that give them a sense of belonging. That's like, okay, that's important, but like, let me just keep going to the advertiser stuff here. It's also why YouTube is the #1 platform viewers turn to when they want to research, vet, or make a decision about a brand or product, outperforming all of their social platforms. Really important for advertisers. At YouTube Newfront this year, we're showing brands how to turn this trust into proven results. We're evolving our tools into a centralized platform, YouTube Creator Partnerships, formerly known as Brand Connect, integrated directly into YouTube Studio for creators and Google Ads and Display and Video 360 for advertisers. We're building tools that help advertisers find the right creators, scale across every screen, and measure results with total confidence. And through the expanded YouTube Creator Partnerships API, select partners can bring these exact capabilities to their own tools. Benji, first, tell me about the history of Brand Connect.
Yeah. So it wasn't Brand Connect. It was actually called FameBit. So in the early days, there was a business or like a platform called FameBit, and it helped creators connect with potential sponsorships, and they were wildly successful. In fact, fun fact, Sean and I, when we started our show for the book YouTube Secrets Video Influencers, one of our early sponsors was FameBit.
I did not know that.
FameBit got bought out by guess who? Google and YouTube. They turned that into an in-house brand tool, and they changed the name from FameBit to Brand Connect. So Brand Connect helped like me and Judy get more brand deals. So proper integration brand deals. What we would do outside of YouTube, even though the video that was sponsored would go onto YouTube, now they were doing it in-house. So the employees of YouTube in this department were the ones facilitating the marriage of the creator with the brand. We're talking some of the biggest brand deals we've done was through Brand Connect.
I had no idea.
Like big ones. And all the other creators loved it. Slowly, they just kind of faded away. I mean, for different reasons. I mean, I can't even remember the last time we got it. But they turned it into some kind of automated tool that would do the same thing, but with no people involved. At one point, I believe they let go of everybody. Why it's significant is because now this comes out, right? Another tool to get more partnerships for creators with brands, and they're calling it what?
YouTube Creator Partnerships.
YouTube Creator Partnerships. Which, yeah, probably. I mean, it's just interesting. Like, why are they rebranding? I don't know, but they're doing it.
I know why, actually. Because like what you said, why did Brand Connect go away? I think it's because the advertisers kind of didn't know about it. And YouTube kind of stopped caring, so they didn't advertise it to them. So they were thinking, what is the best way for us to rebrand this so it's really clear to a marketing department what it is? YouTube Creator Partnerships. Like, they're probably Googling that. These brands are, honestly. Guess what the first thing's going to pop up? It's definitely going to be YouTube. I mean, they own the search engine for now. So to me, that's probably why. They just want to make it really clear, and also probably new leadership. They want to give it a new name, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and Brand Connect just wasn't working.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
wasn't
think
working.
about how like it wasn't obvious, right, from that name, because Brand Connect would always show up to all the events like VidCon and other industry things, and they would have these speed dating kind of rounds where you as a creator get invited by YouTube and talk to brands, by the way.
Oh, that's interesting. That's kind of fun.
And so I got a deal.
Oh, cool.
From one of those meetings. And what was that? I think it was ADT, the security system. So, I can't talk about it, but yeah, we were part of something that was, kind of related to all this. YouTube's just in this new era and is going big with everything. So for a while there, they were very internal, meaning they were working on the platform and the product. Part of that is YouTube Shorts. And now they're starting to go to, how do we just make our mark, both on the media side with awards and even on the brand deal side and monetization.
So the name is changing, I think, because they're trying to appeal to brands a little bit more and make it clearer for them. The other thing that's happening is this other small detail that has to do with the technology that's changing around us. A bugaboo of ours on the show, AI. Here's the rest of the message from the blog post. YouTube Creator Partnerships uses Gemini to help advertisers discover the right creators with total confidence. With access to more than 3 million creators within the YouTube Partner Program, brands can find a trusted voice for any campaign. This is a huge advantage since 78% of viewers, this is the other crazy statistic, by the way, 78% of viewers say that YouTube has the most trusted creators for product recommendations. So that means that YouTubers have the most trust from their audiences overall. I mean, of course, right? It makes a lot of sense, but 78%, most people really truly believe it. They have an actual statistic. Creators can opt to share more about their channels with brands to fuel more valuable connections during a brand search process. On average, creators who shared channel insights were surfaced 60% more in search results. For advertisers, this fuels more intelligent discovery. In the coming months, Gemini will be able to analyze billions of data points, which I'm showing here, including audience similarity, organic brand mentions, and subscriber growth to suggest creators tailored to a brand-specific identity and campaign goals. So this is what the page looks like with the Gemini thing. I think they literally just took Brand Connect and FameBet and they bolted on Gemini onto the side here is what it looks like to me. And you can see them typing in. It says, find me US tech creators reviewing sport gear with high Gen Z retention. So really specific thing that a brand might be looking for. And these are the results that they get. They get a list of creators, their recent posts, subscribers, and an overview of each creator. And they can kind of go through and pick and choose, almost like they're on Amazon. It's kind of crazy to see it in this way from a brand's perspective. So that's what they're getting. It's becoming a real thing. It seems like they're going to really be doing this. And my first reaction overall is that Google's doing what Google's doing. They're making a tool to sell ads. They've done that forever. They're, I would argue, the best in the business for this type of ad sales, and they're bringing it to brand deals now. My second reaction is something you mentioned a long time ago. YouTube wants their cut. Now, I don't think that they're taking anything
That was
right
my
now.
question. Are they going to get a cut?
I have not seen clear information. It does seem like it's out, so we might be able to check that at some point or another. But it doesn't seem like they get a cut. But I mean, man, they're building in that the brand deal like skip tool. Like they literally had a skip button where you start talking about an advertisement in a brand deal. They have this now for an ad sales thing. At the very least, they want to juice the creator economy in terms of that regard. They want to be the place to be getting these brand deals. But I mean, I have to imagine they want a piece of the pie, right? If they're building on this tooling.
I think so, but they're just trying to give opportunities to their YouTube creators. So this tool, how are you going to control it? What if you just use the tool to find the creator and you work with them directly?
That's a good point.
If YouTube can do this and creators are getting more deals because of this, well, is there a need to take a cut?
Yeah,
because
I guess not.
If you're a YouTuber, so what makes YouTube so special from a content perspective?
From which stakeholder? The creator?
The YouTube as a platform.
Well, from YouTube's perspective, they are able to put advertising on a specific video rather than include advertising in a feed of videos.
Now, think about the content. What's unique about YouTube and how they get content?
Like in terms of it being uploaded?
Yeah.
That is horizontal? I guess I don't know what you mean.
It's free.
Oh, it's free.
The creators.
Well, it's not really unique to YouTube because like Instagram has that, TikTok has that, all of that stuff. But it's unique amongst the big streamers, right? Like Netflix has to pay for their content, but YouTube doesn't.
Okay. And then the question is, why are they uploading to YouTube long form, horizontal, versus uploading to other platforms? The Google AdSense.
Yeah. And it's good money, just generally speaking.
So I know this might be a little risky, but if you just create enough monetization opportunities for them, do you really need a cut? Because what YouTube is ultimately trying to do is retain the YouTube creator. You know what YouTube would love?
What?
For you to keep uploading to YouTube and with the spare time, upload even more to YouTube versus split your time with the Instagram and TikTok or upload the exact same thing on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, right? Like, what do they call that?
Syndicating.
Syndicating across all platforms. Then it doesn't matter where you get it from. But that horizontal long form content, that's unique to YouTube. The only thing stopping you from putting out more better content more consistently at a higher volume, time
And money.
and money. Well, it's which one do you need more, time or money? Well, I think it's a little bit of both, right? So
Yeah, with money you can buy more
my thought
time.
is this. I actually don't think they're going to take a cut. I
Really?
think this is a good tool for brands and advertisers to be able to find these people, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? You're
Unless you
convincing me.
have to connect your channel, but not all brands have like a robust channel with data in it, you might just literally type it in, right? Is this something accessible by anybody?
It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. If it's the advertiser has to like have a special connection, do you have to write an agreement say, hey, if you find a creator through this tool, you have to work with us? How do they even regulate that?
Yeah, it'd be so hard too.
And they're already thinking this way, right? So, just like they say non-competes are really hard to enforce, it's the same thing with this. But if a creator gets more deals and they want those deals that happen on YouTube and it's being facilitated to make it easier for the advertiser, not only to find the content creators, but to like even start the discussion, well, who benefits? Obviously the brand and the creator, but also YouTube benefits because the creators are making more money off their YouTube content.
Well,
because what happened was when TikTok came in on the scene, 2020 really blew up. A lot of those budgets went towards short form content.
That's a good point.
Not to YouTube. We call it the golden era. 2015 to 2020 was the golden era for brand deals for creators on YouTube. Why? Because the deals were huge. the rates were crazy high. And a lot of people have told me we're beyond that era. Well, how do we recapture it? Well, hey, let's help these advertisers connect with these creators. I just had a couple meetings this week with advertisers who really want to do YouTube integration sponsorships. They just don't even know where to start.
Oh, interesting.
It's easier for them to understand short form, partly because what are you doing? You're paying for an ad. We're on YouTube. Yes, there's more trust, but there's just so many more moving parts.
Yeah.
I just had one with the Fortune 500 company this week that they already are killing it, right? They're doing really well, but they don't do any YouTube stuff. And the reason they're talking to me, because my wife and I are generally, for the most part, all on YouTube, and that's what they want. It was like a coaching session. It became an education call more than like them pitching me call because they had no clue like where to even start.
That makes sense to me. And I think that that's going to be more and more the case, that a lot of that education is going to be happening as the media landscape changes, which is another reason why it's so significant that YouTube shows up in the Emmys. YouTube shows up in the Nielsen gauge, right? YouTube shows up in all these places where TV traditionally is, because those advertisers, I bet you, they are advertising. If it's a Fortune 500 company, they're advertising on TV. And they think, oh, YouTube's TV? I know how to do TV. Cha-ching. The money starts flowing.
Okay, want to know a fun fact again about Brand Connect?
Yeah, tell me.
Sometimes Brand Connect would facilitate other social media sponsorships.
I did not know that.
That's weird, right?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
would they facilitate a YouTube integration sponsorship but also ask for Instagram? Why?
Because it's good for the creator.
Yes, but also that's what the brands want.
It's good for the brand. Yeah, that's
they
very
want
true.
it to be so we would do a YouTube integration and we'd stack on an Instagram Reels. Well, what's interesting about that era too? Do you think YouTube wants to do that?
I guess it depends on what you mean. Like, I have a product, so then yes, but they would rather have them advertise on AdSense, for example.
Well,
they get a
yeah,
cut of that.
but I'm saying they'd rather the sponsorship happen on YouTube content.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Rather than
Yeah.
like also advocating for Instagram content. My theory is this, that more and more brands are saying, hey, we just want Instagram or we want short form, or that was more important. So like, in negotiations, sometimes you can't do both platforms because they don't have a budget. And guess what? They're like, hey, can we just drop the YouTube and just do it? And then there was actual situations I remember where I was talking to somebody at Brand Connect. YouTube would be taken away and they're helping to facilitate a sponsorship on another
that's
platform,
crazy.
and not on YouTube
Okay.
at all.
Well, that raises the question, though. What is the incentive this time around? How is this going to be different? Because it's going to be the same, right? In a lot of ways.
That's why I don't think they'll put as much control.
Yeah.
They're using AI to create a tool that makes it easier for them to find creators. But rather than controlling it and trying to gate it, right? Like what do they call it? Gatekeeping it?
Yeah.
The other platforms, just like, it is what it is. Maybe they're trying to really drum up more sponsorships for YouTube integrations again.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't for a while. It kind of fell off. I know, because I was one of those.
Well,
creators.
because the TikTok era came and all the
Yes.
interest came to TikTok. And
Yes.
by the way, TikTokers weren't making money off of AdSense because they were making no money off of AdSense. They had to make money using brand deals.
Of course. And guess what? They were really competitive with their rates.
Yeah,
They weren't charging very much. And guess what? Advertisers love that. We're just coming a full circle moment backwards. And I think YouTube's doing the smart thing. They're like, you know what? That golden era, we need to recapture that for the creators, because if the creators love YouTube, because guess what happens? A lot of creators on YouTube that were killing it in that golden era, as they're seeing brands like not ask for YouTube integrations, they follow to the other platforms. You would like to think it's because, hey, I love creating content, the short form's fun, and that's where the audience is. A lot of them were following the money, and the brand deals were happening over there. And guess what happens? They upload less to YouTube. Now, it didn't hurt YouTube because YouTube not only brought in shorts, so that kind of brings up the conversations, even though funny enough, not a lot of YouTube shorts sponsorships. But then YouTube had another era, right? The TV era. So there was sponsorships happening. But I can tell you for a fact, it's never gone back to that golden era. And this might be a play to try to attract brands on behalf of the creators back to YouTube integration sponsorships, regardless if they make money or not. Because the secret is this: as long as the creator is happy and making a lot of money, it doesn't matter how, but where they put up the platform and make the money does matter.
Yeah.
And this would be smart if that's the direction they're going. We don't know that much because it's like fairly new. It's just interesting that they're using AI to do all this stuff. Because guess who did all this before? Agencies, right? Like influencer marketing companies.
Totally.
And now YouTube can kind of do it for them.
You know, and I guess that's my point. I think that your incentive structure there is plausible, that YouTube really, really prioritizes the health of the economy on their platform very highly.
The creator economy on YouTube.
It's just not as direct. And so like, I think in the long term, it's easy to take their eye off the ball. And so I think that we'll have to keep tracking the feature as well as kind of the new series that I mentioned at the beginning and see whether this kind of continues to develop. I'm not convinced 100%, but you've led me down a path where I can sort of see the logic of it. There's one straggler question, but because we're at the end of the show, we'll save it for the next time. Why doesn't YouTube share more AdSense if they care so much about getting creators paid? Let's finish off the show. The way we've been ending the show is by reading from the Steve Jobs archives.
I can tell you the quick answer to that. There's no other competitors.
What do you mean?
Nobody does AdSense like them. So they set the rate.
I disagree. I think that basically all of the social platforms have an AdSense competitor. I mean, Facebook has advertising that is advertising using
But who
the same
pays better
technologies.
than Google?
What do you mean?
What AdSense revenue generating like tool on another platform is as good and reliable as YouTube and Google?
Well, again, I have to ask the question of stakeholders. I have to imagine that you're talking about from a creator's perspective.
From a creator perspective.
Nobody's better than YouTube, but that's my point. The other companies have set the rate at basically zero. In fact, TikTok for many years was at zero. Facebook for many years was at zero. So why didn't YouTube just be like, we're actually going to take 50%. Actually, we're going to take 60%. Actually, we're going to take 80%. I think part of it is because the nature of long form content. But my point is that going the other direction, if they care so much about the health of the creator economy on their platform, shouldn't they be taking less? I don't know. And that's why I find it so
There's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go.
There's only one YouTube, as they like to say.
Yep.
We end the show by reading from the Steve Jobs archives, Letters to a Young Creator. We're going to read from Alan Kay today, who's a visionary researcher whose ideas about personal computing, that every person should have their own powerful portable computer, directly inspired Steve Jobs and the team that built the Mac. He's essentially one of the founding fathers of the intuitive, we call it WIMP in the tech world, windows, icons, menus, pointers, style of computing that you see every time you open a laptop or tap on your iPhone. Here's what Alan Kay has to say. I was asked, what advice would you give a young creator? Different personalities need different advice, so I'll avoid specifics. Kurt Vonnegut suggests generally that everyone do something with art in it every single day. And then, most of the time, don't show it. It's the doing that gives you the most help and allows you to find your inner stuff. A general idea that helped me was to work on the parts of the art that I loved and was weakest at. Another idea along those lines was to judge myself on quality of effort rather than quality of results. Doing the former will usually allow the latter to find itself. An idea I knew about, but didn't do enough about, was that we humans don't scale well, particularly in matching up ideas to wisdom. Our cleverness has increased our physical and mental powers by factors of billions via the inventions of mathematics, science, the Industrial Revolution, etc. But we still use the same parts of our cave ancestors' brain when it comes to dealing with waste, use of power, slow seeming big changes, and the like. We almost completely ignore that we replaced a club or a spear with tomahawk missiles, that our Paleolithic garbage dumps are now the entire planet, that our tendency to lie for gain now is hacking the larger civilizations that can't handle the scaling of communicating via worldwide network. Quote, lying in a good way, end quote, requires an especially tricky kind of wisdom. As deep creators, we essentially make lies come true because we have to imagine the new as something that isn't true yet. We shouldn't take that away, but we have to deal with the difference between speculation and quote unquote plain lying. This is the difficult part for most people and requires quite a bit of sophistication to do. Advice I would have given myself 70 years ago would be that it is a duty of being a creator to live in a society to help the society understand the implications of new creations. In my case, I would have spent at least 10 times the fair amount that I did to help schools and companies understand. This is very similar to the observation that a democracy requires citizens who are sophisticated enough to actually deal with the issues rather than to view the disputes as contests of identity. If we want a democracy, then our duty as citizens is to support educating each new generation to the levels of sophistication needed. If we want to live in a society that has modern technology, we must ensure that it is safe enough, meaning that the combination of humans and technologies will be stable enough to make progress, but not so stultified that we cease being adventurous. We can't allow powerful technology to simply be scaled exponentially by the Industrial Revolution. We need to ask not just can we, but also should we, and how should we? This is why we need to include better wisdom, different wisdom, etc. as part of what we create. The art of wisdom is the most creative art we have, the most difficult, the most important. Best wishes, Alan. Benji, closing thoughts.
What was that last line he said?
The art of wisdom is the most creative art we have, the most difficult, the most important.
Agreed.
As always, thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy who are using the new technologies in order to find success vlogging online. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.